Good morning, everyone. I am Mariah Crenshaw. I want to bring to the attention of the public, to the legal field, the failure of the state of Ohio to ensure that our police officers and our troopers have had their mandated training. I find no pleasure in what I'm doing right now. I take no pleasure out of coming forward and saying that there are persons who are operating in law enforcement by law that were supposed to cease and desist, cease functioning and carrying firearms in the state of Ohio when they don't have their yearly mandated training. Going into 4 years of research and pulling records from all over the state of Ohio and looking that this is a statewide issue, it's not confined to any one department. The state of Ohio has been completely negligent in making sure that people who do not have their continued professional training are removed from law enforcement. And because of their negligence, we find ourselves into what I call the hashtag movement, where we are hashtagging Luke Stewart, we're hashtagging Tamir Rice, we're hashtagging Tanisha Anderson, we're hashtagging particularly African Americans who are encountering peace officers in the state of Ohio who have not had any training under the law. And in this instance, we are referencing the Luke Stewart case, which happened in Euclid, Ohio, and Luke lost his life to two police officers, Matthew Rhodes and Louis Catalani. We know that there was no prosecution of Matthew Rhodes, and we know that Matthew Rhodes still works as a peace officer in the city of Euclid. So through our research, we gathered records, and the records have shown that the previous departments in which Matthew Rhodes held appointments in the state of Ohio, Kirkland Hills, Maple Heights, Ohio, did not make sure that Matthew Rhodes took the mandated training in spite of telling the state of Ohio that he had taken the training. And so it hurts me to say that at the time that Luke Stewart lost his life, Matthew Rhodes, under Ohio law, was not an authorized, duly representative and having legal authority to engage in law enforcement. He was an average citizen who was impersonating a police officer, who was collecting taxpayer funds and benefits, and was receiving the qualified immunity and affirmative defense of he might have been in fear of his life, and so therefore he was forced into taking the life of Luke Stewart, who was unarmed at the time. And at the time that they engaged him, he was asleep in his car. It's sad. Luke was someone's son. Matthew Rhodes is someone's son. I am not anti-police, but I am full accountability for bad actors. Chasing Justice is comprised of attorneys. It is comprised of law enforcement officers and citizens. And so it hurts me when I see that there are people who are over the police not doing their duty and their due diligence to make sure that police are taking the mandated training, the de-escalations, the focus in mental health, the domestic violence, the crime and victim's family, all of the mandated training that they are required to have since our state legislature changed in 2007, peace officers are not receiving across the entire state of Ohio. In this instance, Matthew Rhodes, who was required to take CPT training, did not take the CPT training. He might not even know that he's not a police officer because his chief was responsible for making sure that he took that training. His chief was the one who submitted to the state of Ohio that he had taken the training. And so we filed, Dr. Richard Montgomery and I filed a few minutes ago, affidavits under the Ohio Revised Codes, which allow private citizens to bring criminal charges. We have filed these affidavits and we submit them to the clerk of courts to give to the judge here in Euclid to look them over and then to forward them to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office to submit to a grand jury, and the information that was not considered before, not to indict him and not to prosecute him, that now it be submitted that Matthew Rhodes, under Ohio law, who has no qualified immunity under this code, be prosecuted as any citizen. The narrative, people, has changed. It is no longer, I was in fear of my life. The narrative is, you weren't supposed to be there. And had you not been there, Luke Stewart would be here today. And so this is not an attack on law enforcement. I don't hate the police. I work with them. They have educated me. They have taught me what I need to know. And I have their blessing to do what I've been doing, their full support. And so we hold the state of Ohio, Mike DeWine. We hold Attorney General Dave Yost. We hold the mayors, the safety directors, the chiefs of police responsible for the deaths of all the individuals who have lost their lives at the hands of persons impersonating police in the state of Ohio. And so we are demanding that this change at the state level, but also at the local level, that safety directors and mayors take this seriously and remove those persons who have not taken their training. Matthew Rhodes is one of those persons. We will in the future weeks be bringing charges like we did against Matthew Rhodes, against Michael Amiot, and we will also be bringing them against Patrol Officer Aoki. Down in Beaver Creek, Ohio, John Crawford was killed by Sean Williams in Walmart. He has no training. This is not acceptable. If we have an administration that says law and order, then we're going to start with you. Follow the law and bring the people the order. And so now I give you Dr. Richard Montgomery.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have an epidemic of Black men and women being murdered by police with no accountability. We have cases all across this country of unarmed Black men and women who have been killed by police. And we, each time, hope that the officers who killed them would be held accountable. Here in Euclid, I'm a Euclid resident. So in my city, it's Luke Stewart. 1,323 days ago, a man was taken from his family. As we approach Thanksgiving, his mother has an empty chair. He has a brother and sister who can no longer give him a call and hear his voice. He has children who he was taken from. He'll never see their graduation, them get married, or have their own children. We have a responsibility as a community, first of all, to uplift this family and be with them in their time of grieving. But we also have a responsibility to seek justice for members of our community. It's important for us to, think about how we got here. As Ms. Crenshaw mentioned, Matthew Rhodes was able to use qualified immunity to do something that even when you look at the transcript of the appellate court, the judges felt were wrong. One of the appellate court judges said, there's no reason that Matthew Rhodes should not be held accountable when he came across an unarmed man who was not committing a serious felony and was simply sleeping in his car. But today, I believe that Ms. Crenshaw and I took the first step towards getting justice for this family. One of the things that I think about us as citizens, we have a responsibility, and it's in the Bill of Rights, that when any institution begins to infringe upon your right to be able to practice the liberty, freedom, and pursuit of happiness that every other citizen is supposed to enjoy, you have a moral responsibility to stand up and fight against those institutions. Now, for people who aren't familiar with qualified immunity, the irony here is that it started as a civil rights law to give Black citizens who were being terrorized by Klansmen who had infiltrated political office in the police relief to sue them when they denied them their 14th Amendment rights. And what happened over time is the court interpreted that as long as the officer was there in good faith, as long as he showed up there in good faith to do a job as a law enforcement officer would, then we won't be punitive towards them. And now over time, what we've seen is the courts have allowed even officers who demonstrate malicious behavior to be covered by qualified immunity. So a law that was originally made to protect the rights of black people to be able to practice citizenship is now being used to protect those who are terrorizing them. So I'm glad to be here with Ms. Crenshaw because as a Euclid citizen, Matthew Rhodes is not the only problem here. We got 20% of the officers in this department who make up 80% of the use of force. And because I have a PhD, I pull data and I make interpretations. When you look at between May of last year and November of last year, there were 108 cases where they used excessive force. Where they used force. 95 of the people they used force against were black men. And I've asked this mayor, August 14th, 2017, I said, Mayor, please do a review of your department. We don't expect you to be perfect. We expect you to go, tell us what you find, be honest about how you're going to fix it. So not only are we going after charges for the other delinquent officers, this problem goes all the way to the top, and that's where we're going to go. So I appreciate all of you who came out here, especially members of the Stewart family, members of Black Lives Matter, the attorneys. And you know, this is not the last time you'll be seeing us in front of City Hall. You can expect that we're going to chase justice until we get final accountability for all, not just for the Stewart family, but for all Euclid citizens who have been harmed by this police department. Thank you. Ms. Stewart.
Hello, my name is Mary Stewart. I'm Luke Stewart's mom. And I'm just wondering, what type of training do the police get to run and chase a vehicle down, get inside, and kill a person? Is that the way they train people? And that's all I have to say.
First things first, I just want to give a round of applause for the tireless and courageous efforts of Mariah Crenshaw in casting the light on this issue. Let me just say, for an ordinary private citizen to step forward and shed light on this and to move forward to see justice done on behalf of the Stewart family against a police officer or a police officer, you know, at this point, I think shows a level of bravery that is exemplary. But it's also a level of bravery which is going to be necessary for us all to move forward and tackle this issue of police accountability. I don't want to go on and wax and wane about that issue because enough has been detailed in the press, enough stories have been written up. There's enough discussion on social media, and I think that this issue has even been articulated very well by Ms. Crenshaw and Dr. Montgomery as well. But I will say this. I want everyone to understand that this story is bigger than Officer Matthew Rhodes. It's even bigger than the Euclid Police Department. What Ms. Crenshaw has been able to expose is a problem that is rampant throughout the entire state of Ohio. And because of that, I will call upon Governor DeWine, Attorney General Yost, to take this issue very seriously. It is not just our belief that these officers are breaking the law. It's the Ohio Administrative Code, the Ohio Revised Code, which mandates that these officers be in cease function status, that they immediately stop carrying a badge and gun and performing police duties. To the extent that these officers are out of compliance, which Ms. Crenshaw and Dr. Montgomery have provided some very credible evidence to that fact. To the extent that these officers affect even a misdemeanor arrest, to the extent that these officers may use any force to effect any arrest, they could be in violation of not only civil but criminal law. And again, this is an issue affecting departments and municipalities across the entire state. What Ms. Crenshaw and Dr. Montgomery are bringing forward, this is just the opening salvo. We believe in the weeks and months to come, we will be exposing other municipalities who are also employing quote-unquote police officers who should be in cease function status. And at this time, I would call upon not only the governor and the attorney general to take action, I'm calling upon every prosecutor at every level to investigate the departments upon which you present cases. Because if in fact you are relying upon the testimony, the sworn testimony of these officers in order to obtain convictions, then the integrity of those convictions is going to have to be looked at and scrutinized very closely. It would behoove us all in the interest of justice and fair play to make sure that we are playing by the rules. And it is in that effect I would also call upon any criminal defense attorney who in the normal course of discovery may not look to see if in fact the officers involved in your case were compliant with OPATA. You need to take a look at that. Because to the extent that these officers are not really police officers, then there's going to be certainly some questions regarding the constitutional rights of your defendant. I would implore everybody who's watching this broadcast, to take this story very seriously and please monitor it. And if you believe that you have been the victim of a bad arrest by an out-of-compliance officer, then you need to step forward and engage with legal counsel to find out exactly what your rights may be. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would like to say something quickly. My name is Sarah GELSOMINO. I'm an attorney at the firm of Friedman and Gilbert, and I represent Mary Stewart and her family on behalf of Luke Stewart. A few years ago, Mary and I stood in this exact same place, and we stood in front of cameras that time too, and we filed the civil rights lawsuit in federal court seeking justice for Luke. We sued Rhodes, we sued Catalani, we sued the city of Euclid, and for years now, we have been fighting together, not just in the courts, but with so many concerned citizens, so many people of Euclid and other people who have stepped forward to demand change, to demand justice, to demand accountability. Luke died blocks from here. Just blocks from here, Rhodes took Luke's life. And now years of struggle, and there has been no accountability, nothing. I have sat down with this police chief, Scott Meyer, several times. We have talked to the mayor. We have tried to talk to the mayor. In fact, this city hall was packed with people demanding some respect from this department, from this city, some humanity for them to sit down with the family of Luke Stewart, for them to address what happened, for them to look into their police department, to see the problems, to make some changes. And not once in all of those years of fighting against this department, of digging and finding more and more violations, have we ever seen this city, the city of Euclid, ever show any interest in constitutional policing, to ever show any interest in legal policing, to ever show any interest in policing that respects the humanity and the dignity of the people who they represent in this city every day. Every day, Rhodes is on the streets of this city putting people in danger. And now we have more evidence of the city of Euclid's complete indifference for the law. And we understand it's not just the city of Euclid, right? But this department, time and time again, has shown us that they don't care about keeping people safe or about policing in a legal manner. So now the city of Euclid has yet another opportunity to do something, to prove us wrong. Take this seriously. We implore the mayor, the police chief, the city council who sits in here on Zoom now, to take this seriously. They need to look through every single one of their policing records. They need to look closely at every single one of their officers, at their records of the use of force. To get an early warning system in here, there are systems that police departments around the country use to track problem officers, and Euclid fails to take that seriously and implement anything in this department to watch out for their problem officers. So what are you going to do now, Euclid? Take this opportunity that these incredible civilians have brought to you now to say, we won't continue this anymore. People of this city matter to us. Black lives matter to us. The family of Luke Stewart matters to us. This man should never have lost his life blocks away from here, and now here we are still demanding justice, and we're going to keep doing that. So I look forward to hearing the response from the city. I thank these people for continuing to stand up, because enough is enough. All of us need to continue to chase justice together until every department, starting right here, takes it seriously and changes the way that they police so that people on this street, particularly black people in this community, are safe and are not occupied and killed and put in danger every day because of a police department that has shown that they just don't care.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Did you want to speak? You did? All right, guys. So you guys follow me on my Facebook page. Thank you. Remember, share. Have this conversation. Talk about this. I want to. Is it still on?
I have a question.
Yes.
So from this point, what is the response that you expect, that they have to be procedurally here? Which way will this go?
Okay, so procedurally, when private citizens file these affidavits, the affidavits are sent to the judge for review, and the judge makes a determination on submitting it to the Cuyahoga County prosecutor, who then has the duty, the responsibility, not only to investigate, but to actually submit this to the grand jury. A lot of people that are following me know that I submitted these exact same documents almost 2 years ago. Regarding the East Cleveland Police Department, and the judge on that case said felonies existed. He sent that information over to the prosecutor's office, who to date has failed to indict one person or to appoint a special prosecutor. So we know that the entire city of East Cleveland does not have a lawful police department, and that every arrest that they have done, every investigation they have done, is unlawful. And so, again, this is not isolated to Euclid. We know that this is happening in other departments. How do I know? Because I've put out over 900 in the past 3 weeks, 900 public records requests, and I have asked for every peace officer in the state of Ohio's records. I want them from every individual agency, and I've put it out there, and I've gotten those files back. And each and every one of these departments, I've only found 4 so far that actually take their training seriously. One of the themes that is consistent in every department in the state of Ohio is firearm training. Use of force training. We're not finding the mandates of domestic violence. We're not finding the mandates of trauma-informed policing and crime victims and family. We're not finding the mandates in any of their files. Another issue that we've discussed, and we've talked about this before, Brian, is that they're taking their mandated classes online. For a 3-minute class is supposed to be meeting a 4-hour mandate. It's ridiculous that the state thinks that they're pulling the wool over everyone's eyes by allowing them to do this when it's clearly against the code. We're talking about an entire system, and I shared this, and I'm going to share this, and then I'm going to end this. But I shared this with Brian on the way over here. I think I'm a deep thinker, and it comes to my mind when Mike DeWine said in the killing of Melissa and Timothy that Michael Brelow, what happened with him was a systemic failure. So I want to use what Mike DeWine said to give you this analogy. Systems, human bodies have systems. We have circulatory systems. We have breathing systems. We have all these muscular systems. If one starts to break down, the others start to break down as well. And then when they all break down, the body dies. We know that. Well, we're looking at a systemic, every level systemic failure in the state of Ohio. The Attorney General, the government, the governor, OPATA, chiefs of police, safety directors, mayors. We're looking at a total systemic failure and breakdown. This system is dead. This system is dead. So I'm giving you an analogy that you can understand that when you don't have mayors and safety directors and prosecutors that are upholding their duties, not only to protect the lives of the citizens, but to protect the lives of the peace officers. We're asking them to go out there every single day, and we're not equipping them. We're asking them to go out there and police our communities, and we're not giving them the tools that they need. We're not helping them. Again, this is not an anti-police campaign. We are chasing justice is designed now to bring everybody to the table and hold everybody accountable and come up with solutions and resolutions. If you're out there and you don't know if you're up to date on your training, you can contact me and I will tell you if your chief lied that you had your CPT and if you're in cease function, and I will do that for free. Okay? Because you guys need to be angry with your chiefs who did not care about you and sent you out there and sending you out there every single day to die without any type of protection under the law or any type of training. They've taught you to shoot, they've taught you to kill, they've taught you to be in fear and not to have empathy and sympathy and compassion for the people that you are out here to be policing. And this cannot continue. It's not acceptable. So I want everyone who is listening to this and watching this to share this and understand that there will be peace officers who are going to find out they have not been policed in 5 or 6 years because their chiefs of police lied and did not care to get them any type of training. And so we've included chiefs of police in this to have them held responsible. We have put their names on the document to have them held responsible for dereliction of duty, for defrauding the state of Ohio, receiving reimbursement funding, and sending these people out here that are not equipped to do the job. And so understand, this is to help police, but it's also to protect the lives of the community. It's to protect the people who are African American, who run a stop sign, who sell a loose cigarette, a child playing in a park. We're talking about simple things that we do in life that may be mistakes, should not be death sentences. So I want to say to everyone, thank you for coming. We are now looking to the judge, and we are now looking to the county prosecutor to submit these charges to the grand jury. We expect an indictment, we expect a prosecution, and we expect for him to do what he promised to do, and that is to protect all people in the community from whoever breaks the law. And so thank you.